Gen.G versus SSG.
Listen, we've waited many hours to see this matchup specifically. I waited all through the night. I was sat up in my bed, staring directly at the wall, just sleep maxing my way through this because, Corelli, I am so excited that now we get to see SSG versus Gen.G yet again. Gen.G, who have a phenomenal result yesterday. Chronic, maybe the X factor for the offense. SSG have been working through game fives. They've been working through high pressure moments to get to this spot. Massive matchup for the standings overall in North America. Let's get into it.
Yeah, big argument for this one to be the matchup of the day. The only other one that maybe you could consider is the G2 Rebellion match in the third round after this one. That could also be a very highlight-filled match as well. But the expectation, as I alluded to in my prediction, for Gen.G, obviously I think the favorites, but these two teams are right behind each other, right next to each other. And right now, Gen.G, well, they're putting a little separation between them and Spacestation in game one.
And watch, apparently, Jack played off the crossbar, circle out of LJ's spot, back into the play. Chronic set it up perfectly, and Jack's not going to waste a lot of time putting it away. The captain getting the scoring going early for Gen.G, and a nice response early on, and a great way to kind of start this game for Gen.G.
Yeah, maybe a disaster start for SSG, who almost gave up yet another goal on the kickoff, because if the start like this for Gen.G is any indication, it's going to be brutal for Spacestation Gaming. Apparently, Jack making it so. It's a 2-0 lead.
And watch how Chronic just flutters with this boost, right? Catches it, immediately knows, hey, he has to set up for apparently Jack. Gets the call. Jack immediately flies directly through Hoxer's spot. And just like that, it's a 2-0 lead.
And I'm not going to make the exact same point I just said, but I will just quickly mention that.
Yeah.
Not the way that I think Spacestation wants to go into this series. They haven't even sniffed the attacking third. They're finally getting some touches here. And LJ, maybe a response backflip from apparently Jack is what Spacestation needed, and they find their response.
Quality touch all the way around. Chicago to LJ. LJ knew exactly how he had to hit this ball. Okay. Get two from Gen.G. You get a response from SSG. I mean, the goals have been what they are, and we're off the kickoff yet again. Jack hands it off to Chronic. Off the back wall. Right through the midfield. SSG shutting down another positive counterattack as Gen.G try to work through their own corner.
You know, this game, if it was a boxing match, it was a quick 1-2 punch to the head from Gen.G, but a jab from Spacestation to push Gen.G back, kind of stagger them for a second. You might see things start to level out here.
Hoxer going for the bump. But First Killer will instead use his mechanics as he does so often to try to extend the play upfield. SSG not buying any of that. Hoxer sharply touched.
Whoa.
Chicago floater saved. LJ second touch not going to be there. Chronic winning 250s back to back. Will play for the boost. Now what does he do? Over one, Hoxer still gets a hand out in front, and apparently Jack will try to stabilize with this possession. But again, both teams showing a lot of resolve offensively once they start to move up with the ball. And another long clear for Gen.G.
Oh man, that was a huge miss from Hoxer. Not even close to the touch, but now he's going to get it back. He's going to make me eat my words. If he puts that one on target, no, it's too high. Hoxer had an opportunity and couldn't put it on target, even after his flub on the ball, and now Chicago saving this one right before it goes in. And man, we are trading blows.
Yeah, no lull time in this game one. No, hey, let's figure out where we're at. It's just wall-to-wall challenges every single time. Again, another long clear. Apparently Jack trying to get it behind LJ. Does so, but and again, the SSG offense still a little too strong at the moment to handle a lead for the moment. One goal apiece. Both teams trading blows back and forth. LJ loses the challenge. Hoxer able to slow it. Quality bump through the corner. And that one will go back to the other corner. With that, First Killer will get possession. So, Corelli, we haven't seen too many series on main where it's just been one side of the field, then the other, then back and forth. It's just straight up ping pong, but without the lulls that you usually see in the middle of a series.
And typically we've seen one team maybe play at this pace, but right now you're getting both teams playing at 100%, at least in the speed category. This one is, when we say back and forth, I mean, is literally moving up and down the field so quickly from side to side and then north-south as well. FK trying to drive this one through. And just when you think the offense is getting the upper hand, the defense comes crashing back. That's a big pick from Chronic off the crossbar. And everyone was rotating from Gen.G, so no follow-up, at least immediately. Spacestation trying to get this one out. unscathed as first killer. Crazy angle off the post and almost found it.
It just seems like some of these weird spots, whether it's at the midfield from Chronic or in the corner from first killer, Gen.G just feel like they can set up anywhere they want and decide, all right, we're going to try to rip a shot from here, play the rebound. SSG trying to throw numbers at this point. Doing a nice job being able to stabilize for the moment. 65 seconds ago. Gen.G is trying to break out, and this is maybe the slowest play we've had all game.
Yeah, time certainly, I think, attributing to this play, but Chicago and SSG unrelenting. They're up to 7 shots to the 11 of Gen.G. And with 45 seconds left, you know, when it's all said and done here, Gen.G could be able to just hold on to the lead that they built, but hold on, here comes Chicago, flip reset, and maybe not as much as he wanted on that one. As SSG have got to be thinking about the clock now. LJ, that's the second time he's got a double tap that's gone just wide of the net.
But you'll take those chances and tell LJ to keep shooting if that's the kind of look he's going for. Already has 1 goal in this game. SSG trying to work upfield now, looking for the equalizer as LJ grabs some corner. That's a phrase. Apparently Jack trying to break out. Huge win by Chicago. LJ crashing. Hoxer still in the lane, still fighting for possession. LJ, center of the box. Chicago had a shot. LJ pops it up, still catching it, and there's really not much you could do there, unfortunately, but GG's all around. Gen.G survive an assault at the end from SSG, but that is a blistering game 1.
I am shocked that apparently Jack on the last man on that goal line left the challenge, didn't even go for the challenge, just kind of sat and was hoping maybe someone would come through and cut it out. That led to the extra pass from Space Station. They couldn't put it away, but that was the big opportunity. And like you had alluded to, Spaceman, for Space Station, LJ, he sits at the bottom of the leaderboard. He's got 1 goal on 3 shots and a save, but he was that close to a couple double taps that would have changed this game completely for Space Station. And that's the thing that I think Gen.G have to take away from this is they got off to a hot start. They put Space Station in a hole. It was enough to keep them down there. But you got to know how close you were to having this game be at least tied up, if not letting it slip away.
Like yesterday, when First Killer is the lowest scoring player on Gen.G, but he still has 3 saves and 4 shots. Not too bad, right? Chronic, 555, 2 assists, 4 saves, 5 shots. Didn't score a goal. Apparently, Jack, the only one at the moment for Gen.G in this series, has been able to put up some points. But Chronic leading the charge offensively for the team, assisting, saving defensively. I mean, he is the highest scoring player on Gen.G, the MVP of match 1. Again, Corelli, we get into a situation where it's like when Chronic is really coming into his own, leading the charge for this squad, both on one side of the ball and defensively, he is the X factor for this team. It feels like their offense starts to speed up. They start to get their spots a little bit more quickly. They start to feel like they can take some risks at midfield. Chronic is continuing to be the big standout for Gen.G in this tournament.
And, you know, we go back to the Hootie's heat check at the beginning of the pre-show, and he's been spot on with Chronic. And maybe he might have to add LJ to the list as he finally producing early for Space Station. And it was Hoxer that was trying to set it up initially, but it was Chicago on the follow-up. The challenge was perfect. It forced it to the midfield, and LJ lying in wait. He'll put it home in the first 15 seconds. Hard to Space Station.
As crazy as some of the angles were in game 1 for LJ, it still felt like he was a midfield merchant. He just knew exactly where to be and how to rip the shot. Able to finally put it away for the first goal here for SSG. A great response there as well for the boys who clearly were working overtime to shut down the Gen.G defense, and the Gen.G defense was not relinquishing their spot at all. Under Chicago, plays it perfectly. Great recognition from Gen.G through the midfield. Jack clears it to Chronic. Bumped off by Kago. Hoxer, little floater. Downfield disaster, and a perfect spot.
And this is the setup and the plays that I've been talking about. If it's not LJ, it has to be Chicago and Hoxer working together. That is perfect with Hoxer poaching that back wall and Chicago with the setup. It's a 2-0 lead for Space Station.
Like swatting a flyaway, just a little slap into the net. Gen.G now trying to find a response. SG have woken up here at game 2. Creativity's been there in the offense. Apparently Jack in a foot race to the ball. Possession back to LJ. Avoids a bump. First killer. Trying to play the double. It careens around the crossbar. Centered back out as Gen.G will send more numbers at this. Can't blame him. long clear from Chicago and a necessary one.
Now for Gen.G, you're kind of feeling how Space Station did in game 1, where you go down early and by 2 goals. You got 3 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock. You've got some work to do. Can't fall into the same trap of what SSG did, where it didn't really feel like they were making progress until that final minute or so. They made a big push when they couldn't break through, but they had that opportunity. You'd love to get one back early with plenty of time left on the clock.
If you're SSG, you can spread here. You picked up a demo at the midfield. You grab some boost as well. Take your time through these rotations. You don't need to start pressing on challenge after challenge. Hoxer, plenty of boost to win it. Chronic, right at the net. Double save from Hoxer and LJ to keep it out. And Chicago will clear it downfield. Another instance where, again, it seems like SSG are kind of taking their time defensively, watching the Gen.G offense start to spread out, but always there to make the save.
And for Space Station, I think they're happy just to let this one off the clock. It's a great little flick on, and nobody connected from Gen.G space here for Chicago. He gives it over to Hoxer again, in front of the box and directly at the net, and the defense had no
Hoxer
answer.
got bumped, and he recovers right back in front of the goal line. I mean, how do you stop that? You're not expecting the pass to come. You think, all right, if it's a possibility, surely Hoxer's not going to be able to thread this around to the left post, but you say that, and then there he goes. You said it, Corelli. You needed Hoxer or Chicago to really step up if it's not going to be LJ. Both of them have been involved in back-to-back goals. It's clearly been working.
And you've got LJ putting away the opening goal, 1-for-1 in his shooting, 100% for Space Station. So you're getting your cake and you're eating it right now. Your superstar playing well, and Hoxer and Chicago linking up and finding each other. It's been a perfect game from Space Station so far.
Some of these close quarter passes that Gen.G have not been able to get out of. I guess that's the sentence we're going to go with, as LJ will try to give to Hoxer once more. Two men will commit from Gen.G and getting dunked on. Hoxer tried to put it away. LJ for the follow-up, but kind of the point I was getting back to was, you know, these close quarters engagements on the goal line, these quick passes that really shorten the length between the field for the offensive SSG. Gen.G have not been able to respond to it. They have not been ready for it defensively. And if you're SSG, you just got to keep that in motion, in rotation.
And like we keep saying, I mean, they are just running out the clock perfectly. I've been watching Hoxer. He has just been zooming around the field. He's either chasing players or he's posturing himself for a pass. And you've seen, oh my goodness, oh my gosh. First killer. I've been talking about SSG a little too much, and he's just carried this one across the field. Nobody put a hand up. Chicago, I think he got caught on the crossbar somehow. His wheels fell off, and it spun him around, which meant first killer had a free double tap.
We've been waiting for FK to kind of break things open in this series. It was relatively quiet yesterday. Doesn't have to do a whole lot when apparently Jack and Chronic are leading the charge offensively, but one of the greatest talents in North American Rocket League started to get more involved. A handoff into a Brezzy, into a drop down. Everybody getting a look. Gen.G trying again. First killer towards the crossbar. Apparently Jack. Hoxer will take it away. And back down to LJ.
Some good looks from Gen.G. Couple of shots that at least tested the man in net, made him do something about it. LJ is going to barrel this one through. It doesn't matter if there's someone in the net. LJ's making sure it'll
Gen.G
drop.
take game 1, and it seems like SSG will respond in game 2 because it has been the LJ and Hoxer show. Chicago with a couple of assists. But the offensive SSG have not been slowed down. And they are as creative as ever.
Yeah, 40 seconds left. It's tough for Gen.G. You know, despite putting up 9 shots in this game, you're only coming up with a single goal.
Oh, man.
And I think it's just credit for over the Space Station. They have been looking so good. Hoxer now scoring his hat trick. He and LJ have just been phenoms in game 2. Chicago with 3 assists as well. Means everyone's involved from Space Station. And that's a very dangerous proposition for Gen.G.
Hoxer shooting 75% from the field. Just casually. LJ bullying him away. Hoxer, nope, Chicago, I lied. He's looking for the 6. We're getting close to Brazil territory, but this is actually one of the higher score counts we've had on the mainstream here for the SSL. 5-1 at the moment. Chicago looking for the 6. Reset. Right up the gut. Denied. First killer. Misses the touch. Okay. Signs of life for Gen.G a couple of times in this game, but I mean, a complete domination by Chicago and Hoxer all throughout. It was not close from the start. It was not close from the finish. The best response possible from SSG.
Yeah, that was a great game from SSG, and one that I think is kind of the expectation, especially when they go up against big teams, is you just get everyone involved, and that was kind of the crux of what I was saying earlier was in my prediction. It just feels like if Space Station can get players like Hoxer and Chicago going, which it's not like they haven't been, they've been great, but when you get that in tandem with the LJ pairing, that's where things get really scary for other teams, and I think Gen.G got a little taste of that here in Game 2.
So we've seen the litmus test for Gen.G in Game 1. We saw how the offense was able to explode because of Chronic's presence. 227 on the board in Game 2. First killer stepped up a bit, a goal, 3 saves, 3 shots, but it was the creativity of the offense from SSG, Corelli, that really did Gen.G in this game. Hoxer and Chicago specifically, like downfield, able to find those long clears that then they convert into goal line touches, being able to shorten the length between the passes and really chip away at the defense of Gen.G. Many times Gen.G were ready for a look, ready for a shot, ready for an attempt, and it just seems like SSG had a better idea of how they wanted to break down the defense. So if they can keep that going in Game 3, that's another factor that Gen.G will have to contend with.
Yeah, and we talked about how the previous game would start. We got our answer with how Space Station played. I think now you kind of look towards Gen.G. Will they have a better start and maybe one more akin to Game 1?
Only one way to find out. Off the kickoff into Game 3, second series of the day. If you're just joining us, welcome into the SSL. This is Week 2, Day 2. A lot of teams fighting for their right to stay in the playoff bracket, to work back into the money. Other teams trying to avoid being knocked out of the tournament. Still a couple of matches and days of action to go, but standings matter and games do as well. Chicago through the corner, able to clear it with the help on a pinch. Apparently Jack will easily take this away. Gives it actually right back to SSG to pass over to LJ, pulling it laterally, and the SSG offense showing you exactly what they want to do early on.
Right back to work, in my opinion, for Space Station. And for Gen.G, I think a lot of it does come down to holding the midfield line a little bit stronger. You have to make Space Station work for it more than just in the final third. You have to start that line a little bit higher up. And they have skipped that line, and LJ has found the angle, but it's Chronic on the save. That's the scary part, is those long-range passes. They have been poaching that back wall. I mentioned it before. Nobody from Gen.G have caught on to it. They're not picking up that man. That seems to be cherry-picking.
As much of a superstar as First Killer is, LJ is as explosive, but Chicago gets lucky. You talked about working more at the midfield. You got First Killer crashing in, kind of gives an errant touch, but it was a decent challenge. Chicago, however, right place, right time. It says, hey, I'll just poke this downfield, and that's probably rolling in, and it does just that.
Yeah, I think FK wanted that one to kind of roll up and away from the play instead of bounce back out to the oncoming player. So a bit of a poor touch. Apparently Jack was backwards as well. He couldn't do much about it. And here's the SSG. I think Chicago wanted to play that one back to LJ. SSG would love to build on this lead if they can, and they've been abusing the back wall. They've been using long-range clears, or rather passes, to ensure their next man can pick up. LJ feints the attack or the challenge. He picks back towards his net, and apparently Jack's shot's blocked. FK trying to follow up. SSG are able to weather the storm.
Well, pass from Hoxer. Tried to catch LJ in transition. Back to Chicago, maybe leaving it for LJ. And I like this decision right here from SSG. Just slow it down once the play starts to develop. You have Gen.G guessing on the goal line. They get a little cheeky right at the goal line at that. And now a chance for a counterattack from Gen.G.
Oh,
reset from Chronic. Upfield, nobody else around to contest, and a 1v2 in the net.
I don't know why Chicago, I mean, he didn't have boost, so there's not much he could do, but I don't know why he thought that Chronic was just going to fall back to earth into his challenge. Chronic was going to get that flip reset, and he used it perfectly to ensure that goal.
Somebody had to break things open. It was going to be Chronic. Tie game. A lot of time on the clock. The First Killer. Caught. Flip. Goal.
Well, for Gen.G, this is the man you want to get hot. I mean, between him and Chronic, it's very dangerous for defenses. Chronic and First Killer are such a deadly tandem. And for Gen.G, you're getting First Killer on the board, shooting 50%. You're up by 1. Some good work from Gen.G to stay in this game.
Very simple approach. Hey, it works out. Not too bad. Resources through the corner. Yet again, SSG at the midfield. You can say that a couple of times in this series. First Killer again able to beat 1. First Killer tracking with it, trying to win the challenge on the back wall. Unfortunately, cut down a little too early as SSG do escape, but not for long. Apparently, Jack over 1 off the crossbar, and still Chicago pulls it down to safety. He's got Hoxer ready in transition, gives it to Hoxer. Down, LJ might be able to make a play. No, it's going to be Chicago. Crossing pattern from Hoxer, can't break up the defense, and Gen.G survive.
The block from Chronic as well. Don't let SSG right back into transition on the counter, but they are going to find it either way. Great clear, though, from First Killer. That'll send SSG all the way back, and they're going to need more of that. Force Space Station to really play through the midfield. Nothing free. And here's LJ on the solo play. That's what they're going to resort to if you take away that midfield. No more passes. You've got to get up and shut down LJ as fast as possible.
Seen a couple of times now at the midfield where SSG, once they recognize they might have one player beat from Gen.G, they're pulling the ball laterally. They're really focused on these long passes and working off the sidewall. They don't want Gen.G to stack numbers in the goal line. They want them to chase. It's worked a couple of times. The long clears are deadly. If you can connect, LJ, reset, cross again from Hoxer. He'll pick it up on his own. Playing with his boost here. But yet again, back to the midfield.
A minute left in Space Station. Their offense has really been muted. Not for a lack of trying, but Gen.G have done well to break it up. Demos are coming out, though. Maybe a chance now for Space Station. Can't seem to hang on to it, but it pops back out to Chicago. He's got Hawks on the far side. He's pre-jumped. He's there, and that pass was a little bit too high and came in a little too hot. But Space Station, they're creeping up.
They've been working this angle, this connection for about a minute now. They know exactly what they want to go for. They just want one leading pass that leads into a pre-jump aerial and a tie ball game. Whether or not Gen.G give it to them, that's the question. Chronic doing everything he can to shut down that opportunity. First Killer with another 50. Through the corner, Chronic in a fight for the ball. He punches it towards the net. Chronic slowing it down. 8 seconds to go. A lead for Gen.G. Hoxer moving upfield. Flipping his way into a body block. Chicago centers. And unfortunately, just won't be enough. Quality attempts after quality looks there from SSG, but Gen.G hold on in this game. They get just enough. First Killer's second touch was good enough for the second goal, and with that, a 2-1 series lead.
And that ending of that game was very similar to Game 1. Without the comeback, or at least without the 2-0 lead for Gen.G, this was a game where, in the waning moments, Space Station found more and more opportunity, and that was very similar to Game 1, and in a similar fashion, they weren't able to capitalize. So I hesitate to say, oh, well, you know what, this is the thing they're doing wrong, or to pinpoint or to try and kind of trap down what may or may not have happened here, but more kind of take a general approach and say, listen, this time it didn't drop for Space Station. It wasn't without trying. It wasn't without creating your opportunity. That was certainly there. The Gen.G defense just held strong.
This has been one of the closest series we've had on our mainstream. I mean, if I want to look at yesterday, we could say like the SSG RMC was close. The G2 Gen.G was very wavy back and forth. It was very pendulum swing. One team dominating the other team, kind of pulling back. G2 looked flat for the first 2 games yesterday, but I mean, Corelli, we started Game 1 with a blistering speed from both offenses. Then we go to Game 2 where Gen.G really start to kind of solidify their defense more, but SSG just started piling on the points. Like Gen.G were like, all right, we're going to 2-stack on the goal line. Gen.G said, all right, bet, we're going to go for long clears and connect with each other on those passes. It was a 5-1, I believe, 6-1 game. Then in Game 3, back to kind of that Game 1 speed, but both teams getting their fair share of opportunities. Now into our 4th match here of this best of 5. Hoxer looked like he had a touch. Instead, leaves off for LJ. Could have been an SSG lead, but the main point being, these teams have played each other excellently in this series, and I expect nothing less in Game 4.
Yeah, some top-tier NA Rocket League being played right now. Really fun to watch between both these teams. A shame if this one doesn't go to 5 with the way it's been played. The pace throughout this series has changed dramatically. In the beginning, it was so quick. It slowed down a little bit. Looks like it's picking back up. Gen.G are swarming in this SSG corner. A little fake from first killer. Follow-up was there. Chicago saves the day, but Gen.G are not done with Space Station yet. They want more.
Chicago doesn't play behind his own teammate. That's probably a goal. Great recognition to be in the right place, right time. Hoxer immediately challenges on that possession. Can't blame him. LJ gets center net, wide open. So much free real estate, and LJ opens up proceedings.
Well, this is a nightmare for Gen.G, especially with the way they started. They had full control, and you let a free ball come out from your corner. That's a training-packed shot for LJ, and he puts it home. And you know a player like LJ is going to put that one home, and sitting at a 1-0 lead for Space Station is how you're going to find yourself to a Game 5.
That's the freest shot he's had all series. Hadn't had to work in any weird angle to center that one around. Demo in the corner. Jack, handoff. Oh my God. It's a shadow play. A little bit of 1-2 razzle dazzle, and Chronic gets the credit.
Yeah, Chronic, you can see in the replay. Well, you can't see in the replay on stream, but on his POV, he is parked, watching apparently Jack on where he's going to go, and of course, I'm sure some communication as well. Gen.G on the same page, and it pays off.
Big bump on the kickoff. Hoxer trying to get it to LJ. Hawk on low boost has been a nuisance in this series. Again, popped up for LJ's handling. What's he going to do with it? As the reset uses it, bumped off. Still challenged by Chronic. First killer was deleted off the backboard, but it didn't matter. The defense from Gen.G able to, again, withstand this pressure. First killer can't get there in time. Apparently Jack can. Chronic squishying it out, and it's wide open underneath.
Oh my gosh.
It was a two-stack inside, a bit of chaos, but Chicago doesn't even worry about it.
This is the type of decision-making that I'm talking about. He had a lot to choose from here, and it's a perfect pass to Chicago, who puts it under the two defenders. LJ, that type of decision-making is how you win games.
You can do it on the ball. You can do it off the ball. LJ, maybe a third. 1 goal on 3 shots already. Chicago through the corner, and SSG getting back to the spots they like. Their power positions have been in the corner with those free touches. Hoxer, again, being a nuisance, a problem. LJ just leaves it off the backboard. It's forcing, again, the defense of Gen.G to slow down. They can't immediately counterattack upfield. They can't always throw for a moving clear and try to get out and escape and let first killer or apparently Jack to connect. They're having to work overtime, especially off the backboard. Chronic, the first killer, take it away, poked free. Chronic will be there, has to play towards his own corner, but LJ's able to get out and get boost. LJ, ready. He actually pre-jumped that touch from Chicago. That's insane.
And Oxer almost got a bump as well, and Space Station almost feeling like they're entering flow state at the moment. A pre-jump like that from LJ means he's having some sort of premonition as Space Station walk up to the plate. First killer, they got a little fake from his teammate and bought himself an extra touch. But Gen.G trying to knock on the door here. Great shot from Chronic, and Gen.G shut down Space Station.
I mean, you had LJ on low, you had Chicago ready. It's a tough read for sure, but Chronic puts it just dead center net. I mean, that is as direct a shot as you're going to get. Good recognition from Chronic. Tie game 2-2. Again, after this series, we will have G2 versus Shopify. So if you're in chat and you're wondering, and you're hoping, don't worry, we got you. Hoxer going to try to pick it up off the kickoff. Actually leaves it for LJ. A 1v1 on the ground. First killer not going to bite. Apparently Jack trying to get out in front. First killer still finishes the play. That's just stupid.
I got to give some credit to Chicago. He stayed in the mix as long as he could. LJ, though, surprising that he took that one straight into the defender. Chicago getting beaten up, and unfortunately couldn't come up with the save. But I think LJ, maybe a little bit of a mistake, or just didn't take the challenge properly to go into that. Didn't have a lot of options for the solo play. He was kind of collapsed upon too quickly, and that put Chicago in a very tough spot.
It's one of those like tackles that the ball just fumbles out and it just, you know, squirts away for Gen.G, and you're like, all right, fair play. Not much you can do. First killer. What in the world, man? Where did this angle come from? Where is this double tap possible?
It's one of those FK angles, you know what I mean? And with 44 boost, what a read from first killer off the backboard. Gen.G up by 2, and in a game where it felt like Space Station was not running it away in the sense of the scoring, but running away with it as in the pace of play. Gen.G has just stopped them in their tracks.
Still plenty of time, though, if you're an SSG fan. After a loss, SSG are one of the better teams in the tournament. They put on a flurry of shots. It was a 2-0 lead at one point. Don't forget. LJ from his own corner actually gets baited by first killer with no boost. That's wild. He will escape. Jack going to try to bring this back down to the ground. And a massive clear to shut down what would have been an LJ touch.
Space Station, they've got to get going.
Oh, man.
Oh, no, that one's off the post as well, apparently. Jack almost able to put one away, and that could be the dagger for Space Station if they can't find one soon.
Trying to drop the hammer, first killer. Already has 2 goals in this game on 3 shots. Unrelenting. The pressure from Gen.G at the moment. Chronic still just getting involved, getting physical on low boost. I mean, you can't buy a clear right now if you're SSG.
And it's just Gen.G locking them in. Space Station having to go out towards midfield to collect boost means they're trying to defend from behind the play. Hoxer, that's a great flick, and now they just got apparently Jack. Can Hoxer do something here? He backflips, wait for the bump from LJ, didn't come. Needs Chicago to put this one home. It's a save from Chronic. Space Station still trying to attack, and LJ was just trying to force it with that cut, but first killer will make sure this series ends in 4.
That'll do it. 3-1 for Gen.G against SSG. The handoff, the first killer. GG's all around. It was a pretty great response from SSG in this series, especially this game 4 to start. But slow and steady wins the race from Gen.G, and they did not waste any time reminding everybody of how good they can be.
It's a shame this one doesn't get 5. I think Space
Yeah.
Station actually played a decent series here. This one certainly got away from them, but they were up the scruff against this Gen.G squad, and this time though, Gen.G coming out on top.
They look very good. They look very, very good. So if you're a Gen.G fan and you're worried about more recent performances as of right now against some of the better teams in the region, they're looking quality. That's not a great way to say it, but they're looking good, folks. Gen.G take it 5-2 in game 4. Here's the stat breakdown. 674 for Chronic again. I mean, first killer had 3 goals, but Chronic once more. 2-2-4 across the board. Chronic continues to be the standout on this team. When he's playing well, it seems like everybody else does as well, Corrali.
Yeah, he's certainly the catalyst. He's been the spearhead. And for Gen.G, he got a lot out of first killer, which we couldn't say that for Gen.G yesterday. I felt like first killer maybe didn't have, or I don't know if it was a bad day, or rather a bad series that we saw him in, but more so of a quiet series from first killer. But they got the job done. And this time, yesterday Gen.G took down Space Station to 3-0 fashion with 2 overtimes. This time they take him down 3-1, so dropping a game, but still, I think commanding a lot of this series. And that's back-to-back days of beating Space Station. So Gen.G certainly on top.